how do you research property that you're interested in? What do you need to look for? That's what we're going to discuss on this episode of The Drive Home. So, say you've narrowed your search down, you've got 3 or 4 different properties you're interested in, a couple of different states, it could be the same state, it doesn't matter, it applies either way. And you want to figure out, what it's actually like to live there, politics, if that matters to you, permits, all that kind of stuff. The first thing you can do, and it's always a great first step, is social media. We have this vast library of information on social media, mainly Facebook, maybe even LinkedIn. But you go to the little groups, at least in the Facebook, I'm not a LinkedIn person, but you go into the different groups, off-grid groups, stuff like that, and you make a post and you ask, hey, does anybody live in such and such area of such and such state? And then people reply. You ask if you can, message them, and you get information on that. What it's like there. Like cost of living, stuff like that. They might even have information on different permits. The closer they are to your area, or at least your county, the better. And after you do that, I hate to say this, but anybody can be anybody on Facebook. Anybody can be anybody on social media. So what you need to do is you need to take that information that you get, go ahead and write it down, a little list of things, and then you have to double check. Maybe, you might have an exception if you actually know the person or something like that, but it's still a good idea just to keep up to date on different laws and stuff like that. So what you do is you can start off at the state level of whatever you're looking at, whatever state you're looking at, but you always want to get down to at least the county level, if not the state level or the city level. Actually research the town, the different requirements for living there, and different things you want to look for as far as that goes is, say you go to the county website. It's always a good place to start before you pick up the phone, especially if you're like me and you don't like talking to people. You'd rather just get online and do search terms. But the first thing I did when we got our property, and yes, I said when we got our property, this is what we did, because we kind of happened onto the property. A lot of the things I was looking for, it wasn't here, but I think I've said it in the previous video, the price was right and the location was right because we were here. But anyways, you go into the county website, and most of them will have a search bar, and you do a simple search like, say, building permit requirements, and among the search results, probably like the top 3, it'll actually have a list of what things you can and can't do without a building permit. In some areas, some counties of whatever state you're looking at, maybe they don't require a permit if it's less than 500 square feet or 200 square feet. Maybe they allow tiny houses to be built. Then the permit for square footage might be a little bit lower. They might start it at 200 square feet. Anything above 200 square feet, you need a permit, because tiny houses, if you're actually going to live in it, there's too many people out there that would do shoddy work, and the government wants to regulate that and make sure they build it to code and do everything right. A lot of places don't believe that you can do it on your own. But anyways, that's like getting off subject here. But yeah, you'll come up with results for, you know, different requirements for building permits, or some places you don't even need building permit. Some places you might only need a placement permit to let, you know, like wildland firefighters know that there's a building there or a structure there, and they need to focus their efforts to keep the fire from getting there. Some places you won't need a permit at all. You just buy land, you can do whatever the heck you want on it. You know, it doesn't really matter. You know, you'll also, among the search results, you might come across, you know, like plumbing permits or something like that. You know, if you don't, you actually put in, you know, like water permits, rainwater collection. I mean, you can search anything you want to know through the county. And even, you know, if all else fails, you want to do a lot of reading, you know, every county has their own code book for, you know, building requirements, electrical, plumbing, you know, setbacks. You know, you have to be a certain amount of space back from the property line or even an easement. So you got to research that. You'll find most, if not all of that, in the county website. Now, I would assume that some areas might have like a small enough population in a county where they don't really have a very large website for the county. You might not be able to get much information. It might be a better idea. Of course, if you're local, go down there, talk to a person face to face. It's always the best. You know, put on, you know, maybe a little bit of charm. Be nice, cordial, you know, be respectful. You know, the less of a threat people think you are, you know, the more likely they are to help you. Otherwise, you can call them on the phone. Same thing applies. Be nice, be courteous. You know, don't think of these people as the enemy. Think of them as somebody holding a door to where you want to go. After that, you know, if you've decided you want, you know, a particular piece of land, you already know exactly which one you want. You can usually find, and I actually found one recently. I can't remember. I'll link the website down in the description, but. I think USGS something, but it's the depth of the wells in the area, and I found out that right in our immediate area, like our neighbors, the closest ones, range from 100 feet to 200 feet, but supposedly there was a neighbor that just drilled a well a couple weeks ago. They had to go down 300 feet. So you get information like that, you know, how deep the water table is. I like to research the weather history, you know, the past at least 2 or 3 years. So maybe you can see a trend or something of, you know, what the weather's like. You know, that would pretty much predict, you know, the next few years, you know, at least 2 or 3. If you're really curious and, you know, you actually live close to the area, you can physically go out and knock on people's doors. You know, say, hey, what's it like to live here? Blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm interested in this piece of property over here. And, you know, just like talking to government officials and whatnot, you know, the county clerk or whoever you might be able to speak to at the county office. Because these people are potentially your neighbors. You know, you also get a good feeling, you know, a good vibe of what your neighbors are like. Through a lot of the places that I was researching, I went to Google Maps. You can do Google Maps, Google Earth, either one, and actually zoomed in on the property itself, just to see, what's there. A lot of the times the images are outdated if you're looking at more rural area. So that's something to think about. If electricity is important to you, if you're not really interested in going off grid and you're just looking for a piece of land to just do a regular homestead on, you might see if there's electricity there. You can call the local utility company in the area. Call the local utility company in the area. Get the fuck out of the way. Most of the time you can actually give them a call, whichever utility company is local, electric company, and if you have the address, you could possibly find out if there's power lines running across the property adjacent to, whatever. Same thing with water, all that kind of stuff. But if you're in a rural setting, most likely you'd have to drill your own well, have your own septic system put in. Another thing you can do is check your cell service provider. Type in the address. I think most, if not all, cell service providers now have coverage maps, so you can see, you can have a good idea. They're not always accurate in rural areas. But you can have an idea of what kind of service you get in your area. For ours, according to the provider for our cell phone service, we're supposed to get 3 bars right where we're at. We don't. We get 1 bar if we're standing on a hill. And part of that's our fault. We're kind of in a little kind of a bowl on our property, a little bit lower down. So we have a cell phone signal booster that goes up above it, but it only gets like 1-2 bars. You go down to the other end of our road that we live on, and they have 3 bars, but we don't. So that's something you have to consider. Bar if we're standing on a hill. And part of that's our fault. We're kind of in a little kind of a bowl on our property, a little bit lower down. So we have a cell phone signal booster that goes up above it, but it only gets like 1-2 bars. You go down to the other end of our road that we live on, and they have 3 bars, but we don't. So that's something you have to consider. And something I'm not sure if I'm going to recommend it. I'll leave that up to you guys to look for yourself. But maybe call a real estate agent for that area. I'm not even sure really how you would find one. I've never gone through a real estate agent. But, you can do that. I hope that helps you out with some ideas of what to do and how to look for the information you need. If you like this video and liking the series so far, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications icon so you don't miss a single video. Until next time, keep kicking up dust. With Shizzle.